What is going on, everybody? This is Raj from Eastside Rage. And after waiting for almost a decade, we finally get a new Mafia title. But the million-dollar question is, does it follow the same charm that Mafia 1 and 2 did as the developers said it would? Well, the answer is both yes and no for me. While Mafia does go back to its narrative-driven roots, it unfortunately falls short in some areas while stepping up in a few others. It's like a few steps forwards and a few steps back. Well, it's not as disappointing as Mafia 3, don't get me wrong, because that fucking game tried to go for a GTA feel and everything, and it was a total fail, if you ask me. But, you know, the problem with Mafia The Old Country, it feels like a movie disguised as a video game. That's the problem with it. Even though it's linear, it feels too linear at times. Doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. I enjoyed it at times, you know, but I felt it could have, you know, they could have made the gameplay a lot more better and the world a bit more engaging. So I guess we could just dive into the plot and tell you what this game is about. The game is set in Sicily, Italy from the years 1904 to 1907, if I remember correctly. You play as this young man called Enzo Fazzara, where he is forced to work as a mine worker since he was a child due to his father's death with the Sparrows crime family. Hardly getting by and forced to work and live in terrible conditions. Him and his friend continue to work hard every day, save up every penny to leave the mine and possibly set out a new life in the United States, specifically Empire Bay, where Mafia 2 is, you know, at. That's, you know, the main map of it. However, things in the mines go wrong after being forced to find one of their co-workers by this fucking asshole called Merlo, and trust me, he gets his later. But anyway, they go down there and like they are looking for it in him and everything. There's a bunch of gas, and Gattino unfortunately gets killed by the explosion inside of it. Enraged, Enzo goes and confronts Marlo, and it starts, they start fighting each other in a knife fight. Then there's a slight volcanic eruption that causes them to get separated. Enzo runs on horseback along the countryside to get away and ends up on Don Teresa's turf. Before Marlo and his gang of Sparrows does anything, the Don tells him to fuck off. The Don then later has one of his lieutenants, Luca, to put Enzo under his wing and, you know, has him as a farmhand. Later, he starts doing jobs with Cesare, which includes, helping the family fight other gangs, extorting businesses, escorting, people and everything like that, or whatever. Let's just say, and sitting his out, just doing every fucking crime under the sun throughout the years. However, eventually falls for the Don's daughter, Isabella, and they can't get enough of each other. They always sneak out, walk off, and go out. However, the Don is very overprotective about his daughter and only wishes her to marry a rich guy, a rich associate gang or whatever. He doesn't want her with nobody else like that, so they got to keep it a secret. But eventually she gets knocked up, and she decides, she starts to see her father for what he really is, a actual monster that doesn't give a fuck about nobody but himself. So she wants out, and she wants Enzo for that, but it's not easier said than done. So Enzo must decide if he wants to make a life for himself, his love interest, and his future child in the U.S., or continue to bloodshed throughout Sicily until he meets his own end. And it's up to him, really. But that's one thing I did like. The storyline of this game is its strong suit. It has tense moments, unforgettable characters. The writers make sure they capture 20th century Sicily. The world is beautiful. People even talk. They have you find articles about things going on. People even talk in Italian sometimes. If you have the language on English, it works. It also has a good message that I guess a lot of people often don't get in watching these movies. that this type of lifestyle often leads to a bad path, being a gangster. Most people watch like The Sopranos, Power, Don't Be a Menace to Society, Breaking Bad, Goodfellas, all of that, or video games like that, even GTA. I'm not trying to say video games cause violence, no, but people think the idea is, I should be like them, I should be like them. No, that lifestyle always leads to bad things. I just wish a lot of these fucking idiots would get the idea of what the writers is saying. Characters, alright, Anzo, like I said, strong, brave guy, will do anything, will do anything. He's a hard worker, he's loyal, he knows how to treat women, he knows how to talk to people and everything. He's mature, down to earth. Like, he's a great lead, a great person. Liked him. Isabella, she's a beautiful, courageous, but rebellious girl against her father. But eventually she starts, falling for Anzo more and more and more. And but yeah, throughout the years she does see her father and her family for what they are and wants to get away. And I honestly can't blame her. Don Teresi, he's like Tuco. He's like, Tuco. His voice is like Tuco. He's not like him, but he's, like Tuco, tough, or whatever. Tuco from Breaking Bad. This dude is tough, serious, and he does have a high temper real quick. He's somebody you don't want to piss off. Very smart though, but he don't play no games. Tino, he's basically, you could call him somewhat the brains of the operation. Calm, collected, but pure evil, just tense. He will not mind putting a bullet in somebody's head, to be honest. Yeah, he is like that, the OG of the group. I think he's like the right hand to the Don. Then you got Cesare, kind of like Joe, but not as loyal as Joe. Womanizing, guy is what Rise cracks, but he's like the hothead of the group. He will put a bullet in somebody in an instant. And you got Luca, one of the better guys, the one that puts you under the wing. And he's supposed to be Sam, Terepini's son from Mafia 1. Mafia 1. You probably remember him from that. That was just, yeah, but he was a great, knowledgeable, rational-headed guy and knew everything in and out. Then, you had returning characters like Leo Galante and Giuseppe from Mafia 1. From Mafia 2. They actually knew the game. The Galante family were basically great assistants. They were basically there just to help Luca, help, Anzo get to where he had to be, or whatever. Then, there was even Silvio. Well, I already told you about Sam, but Silvio. There was even a Silvio. Silvio didn't make a direct appearance, but I found his actual rap sheet in the, I guess near some prison or whatever. So he was technically in the game. So I guess we can move on to the gameplay now. Alright, because that's the main problem of it. The gameplay is okay, however it's really slow paced and restricted even for a Mafia game. It took me 2.5 fucking hours to get to the first fucking shootout. For the first half of the game, you're playing as Aaron Boy for the Don and everybody fucking else. Every time I turn around, they would get this. Oh, Caruso, clear out the front for me. Oh, Caruso, drive me here. Caruso, do this. Caruso, escort Isabella there. Blah, blah. It's really fucking annoying, bro. Like, every 5 seconds, dude. And each Mafia game doesn't have action in it every 5 seconds, but it does not take it that... Hold up. My bad. Doesn't take that long to get to the fucking point. It does not get, or whatever. It doesn't. They're not full on action, but come on, you're requiring me to do chores every 5 fucking seconds, like in a hard labor. Like, come on, for fuck's sake. Like, it ruins the pace of the game. Alright, and I was about to give it an average score because of this, but luckily it kicks up later. But that isn't the only problem. The missions are very repetitive. Look, it goes like this. You talk to a bunch of people, follow someone around, and have to do this false walking animation. Even slower than Red Dead Redemption 2, than drive somewhere and get into a generic shootout or forced knife fight when you have a fucking gun. Which is required to kill every stupid ass fucking boss. Yeah, literally, those are the boss fights. I don't even have to go into details. And don't get me started on the forced stealth sections. Oh my god. And if it's not forced, you're better off just blazing your way through, because it's not hard to kill them all, and still, due to how shit the AI is, and stealth sections are very boring, and stealth aspect is very boring and inspirational. I'm not trying to say it's a broken concept, because shootouts can be fun and the game's dialogue does keep things going in knife fights, but it gets dull real quick. Like Mafia 1 and 2, there were a lot of shooting, but they did things differently to keep the player engaged or whatever, and had a good blend of story and gameplay, which made the replay value, like a little high. This game doesn't, give me a reason to go back to it. I know what you're saying. I'm gonna say there's a free roam mode, but considering you can't do anything in it, makes it pointless. I get the game is technically open world. It's not technically open world or whatever, but they said it was followed Mafia 1 and 2, and those were linear. When free roaming, you're not allowed to shoot anybody, run anyone over. There's invisible walls everywhere. There's no type of police system. I get we're in Sicily, Italy, or whatever, but damn, they could have had a reputation system in place or whatever, have you, like, if you do something, the gangs will retaliate and everything like that, or whatever. Hell, there's not even no fucking mini-map, and the point, way the system is, and way the point GPS navigation system is, there's none of that. My bad. There's none of that. So I have no idea where I'm going unless I bring up the map and I have to figure out which road to turn around. Or, I could miss it and be, scrambling for minutes without knowing I'm going down the wrong way. Jesus, that's really about it for the navigation. The exploration isn't, all that good. Oh, no. Yeah, sometimes even in a shootout or whatever, doubling back to that, I can't see what the fuck is coming up. Maybe I could use something to see through the walls, and they have little arrow indicators, but when a shootout's happening, you're not watching those. And what is the point of having a gun shop in a garage if I can only access them every now and then during the narrative? Also, why am I buying clothes in my closet? There's nothing to do in the world of Sicily. They should have just, scrap the fucking world completely. And before you say, oh, Raji, fuck you, bro, you're a GTA fanboy, you are expecting it to be like Red Dead Redemption. The answer is no, fucktards. Shut the fuck up, you dumbasses. I was expecting it to be like the first Mafia games, where it's linear, but it's open map, it lets you explore or whatever. And you're constantly not on some roller coaster or whatever, and until the ride is over. And if you decide to do something else, you get kicked out of the park. You get kicked out of the park by security, because that's what it feels like. You just walk one way, a timer will start or whatever, because there's a map and they say you could freely explore it, but you can not or whatever. Maybe it's not open world, but it's still a map there that you should be able to explore whenever. God, man, the game punishes you for doing anything. Not just anything, but just any and everything, and you got to do things their way. It's too scripted. Well, now that's out of the way, I guess I could talk about, the good things. The guns and the vehicles, they drive. The shooting's decent, the driving is pretty smooth. However, the game does have a lot of weapons or whatever. And I guess, shooting people does feel it does feel pretty nice. It does feel satisfying. Although, there's blood and gore, but it's not a lot of that or whatever. But yeah, as for the weapons, there's a lot of them. There's repeaters, revolvers, rifles. You probably will remember them from the Red Dead Redemption series. And you have two modes of transportation, cars and horses. But I prefer the cars because, the way the horses are, they're not that fun to ride. It's not annoying, but I prefer the cars. And, they have a lot of different models for the cars and the horses. So yeah, you know, you could also buy those cars or whatever in the game. You know, it lets you do everything. I'm pretty sure I didn't really miss much of anything with that. The gameplay is just straightforward. So I guess I could talk about the graphics, sound design, and everything next. The graphics look pretty beautiful. I'm not trying to say it's the best looking game, but it's a beautiful looking game. The attention to detail is there. The character models look great. Everything looks beautiful. It's you know, not totally photorealistic, but the colors are vibrant. You know, the details are there, and you know, look out or whatever. You look out, the vegetation's good. The world is good. It's just, you know, I don't understand this. It's a good world. They could have done a lot with it. I mean, I'm sort of disappointed that they didn't, but it's a good looking game, you know. It doesn't unlike that plastic little shiny look they had in Mafia 3. I don't know if they were going for that, but they really stepped it up here. They really did. As for the music is alright, especially, you know, navigating, you know, it has a little like you know, it has that little classical music to it, and you know, when you're in a shootout, you know, it has shootout with a knife fight. They always set on the music right. The sound design is pretty alright, you know. I guess it's okay. I don't really have complaints with that. And you know, I guess we can move on to how the game runs. The game runs okay. I don't really run into any problems really. Not a lot of glitches or whatever on my end. You know, the game isn't a broken mess. At least it does those things right. You know, it's not a broken mess. It's enjoyable experience. You know, I didn't run into any hiccups personally. I don't know if anybody else did. That's just me. But let's move on to the verdict. Mafia The Old Country is a decent narrative-driven experience. However, its gameplay does hold it back. I get it was a linear experience and it was only $50, but the developers said they wanted to follow the paths of the first two Mafia games, and they ended up cutting a lot of content. However, the storyline, characters, you know, and the whole aesthetic, you know, it really does make up for it though a lot. And this is why you know, rating it a 7 out of 10. Although, you know, the ending was a little sucky. At first it was going to be a 5 or 6, but it kicked up later. I'm glad for that. Or whatever, but you know, if you don't agree, just let me know down below how you feel about it, why it should be a higher score or lower score. But anyway, this is Eastside Rage signing out. Keep raging out. I'll catch you on the next stream or review.